If you ignore a parking fine in the UK, does it disappear, or can it spiral into something far more serious? In 2026, the rules are clearer and in some cases stricter than they were a few years ago. The first thing you must establish is this: was it issued by a local council or by a private parking company? Because the enforcement routes are very different. There are two main types of parking charges. First, council penalty charge notices, usually called PCNs. These are issued by local authorities or Transport for London. They are backed by statutory regulations. Second, private parking charges. These are issued by supermarkets, retail parks, hospitals, and residential developments. These are civil contract claims, not criminal fines. Let's start with council PCNs. In 2026, many councils operate tiered fines. Standard contraventions are often around £70 to £80. Higher-level contraventions, such as blocking dropped curbs or cycle lanes, can now reach £130 to £150. You usually have 28 days to pay or challenge, and 14 days to pay at a 50% discount. If you ignore the notice completely, the next stage is a charge certificate. This increases the fine by 50%. For example, a £150 fine becomes £225. At this stage, you generally cannot submit a normal appeal. The enforcement process continues unless you take action. If the fine remains unpaid, the council can register the debt at the Traffic Enforcement Centre. You will receive an order for recovery. This adds a court registration fee and gives you a short deadline to respond. If you ignore this document as well, the case moves to enforcement agents. This is where costs rise sharply. Statutory enforcement fees in 2026 are fixed. A £75 compliance fee is added as soon as the case is passed to agents. If they attend your address, a further £235 enforcement fee is added. A £225 fine can quickly become over £500 before removal costs. Enforcement agents cannot force entry for a parking debt. However, if they have a valid warrant of control, they can clamp your vehicle. This includes vehicles parked on the public road and, importantly, on your own driveway. They still cannot break into your home for a parking fine. Now consider private parking charges. In 2026, a new single code of practice applies across the industry. Most standard charges are capped at £50, reduced to £30 if paid early. There is also a mandatory 10-minute grace period before a ticket can be issued. Previously, companies often added £60 or £70 in so-called debt recovery fees. Under the new code, these additional fees are heavily restricted. If a company adds inflated admin charges without a court order, this may breach the code. However, ignoring the ticket is still risky. If a private parking company decides to pursue the matter formally, they may issue a letter before claim. If ignored, this can lead to a county court claim. If you fail to respond to court papers, the court can enter a default judgment against you. A county court judgment, known as a CCJ, can affect your credit rating for 6 years. However, there is an important rule. If you pay the full judgment amount within 30 days of the court decision, the CCJ can be cancelled and removed entirely from your record. Debt collection letters are not the same as bailiffs. Debt collectors have no enforcement power. They cannot seize goods or enter your home. Only certified enforcement agents, following a court process, have limited enforcement authority. Years ago, some people advised ignoring private parking tickets. In 2026, that approach is far more dangerous. The system is more regulated, but also more automated. Court claims are issued electronically and processed quickly if ignored. The safest approach is usually to act early. Check whether the notice is council or private. Consider using the appeal process within the deadline. Take advantage of early payment discounts where appropriate. Ignoring the issue rarely makes it cheaper. A parking fine in the UK will not simply disappear. For council penalties, enforcement fees escalate quickly. For private charges, ignoring formal paperwork can result in a court judgment. Understanding the process gives you options. Ignoring it removes them. If you found this useful, consider subscribing. This channel breaks down UK legal processes clearly and calmly, without the jargon or the scare tactics. New explainers are released regularly, covering everyday issues that affect people across the UK. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.